Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show on this Monday morning. You had a little glimpse of this already when I wasn't ready. It was something like, but now I'm ready. Monday morning. I have to say something. I went camping this Saturday to Sunday. A very Colorado thing to do of me. But my throat has been hurting a little bit. Maybe camping is just not for me because I couldn't get warm. We have a picture of the campfire. That is beautiful. It looked something like this, but the tent, it looked like this. The tent was too small, the fire was too small, I was cold, and now I have a cold. And I hope I can talk for 30 minutes long, because there's a lot to talk about. But if I suddenly sound very hoarse, it's because of this right here. Anyways, let's get into it, because this is a historic day. This is the first day ever that we have a Guerilla Sports Daily during the regular season. And the dailies are going to look more and more like what is going to be today, probably, because we have a lot of interviews. We went to games, we interviewed players, coaches, and we want to use that in these Guerilla Sports Dailies to get you up to speed if you were sleeping early the previous day. If you just haven't been following every game, we got you in 30 minutes every morning. We will tell you exactly what happened here in Colorado. And of course, we'll still have enough time to talk about all other sports in the world. Let's get into it. The Broncos versus the Seahawks. Ouch. The Broncos started their season the way they played the last few. The game went down in mediocrity. The Broncos lost the season opener against the Seattle Seahawks 20-26. And I get why everyone was feeling hopeful with Bo Nix, the rookie quarterback who looked so good during the preseason. But we cannot forget that he is just a rookie. And this was his first ever game at this level. So we cannot expect magic from him, even though we kind of hoped it would be. That is not what happened. After so many seasons of just subpar football, I get it. You cling to anything. You want that hope. And I think that's what happened here in Colorado. Bo Nix himself had this to say after the game.
It was a challenge. It was a tough day. It was, they didn't make it easy on us, that's for sure. But like I said, we competed. We went down and scored there at the end, and gave ourselves a chance to win. And we were, an inch away on a, almost batted ball that Riley Moss made an incredible play on that they just, made a better play. So it's tough. You got to give them credit, but we battled and we continue to fight, and that's, those are the emotions of today. That we got a competitive team. We got a team that's not going to quit, and we're going to put everything on the line. And no matter if it's ugly start, we're going to continue to find ways to finish.
I mean, it was a loss. It was a kind of a bad loss. But you see a very adult and mature Bo Nix here. And I do like that. And there were definitely some positives also in his game. Did you see that touchdown in like the last few minutes? He swerved and jumped into the end zone. Beautiful touchdown in his rookie first ever game. Have to say that again. And Sean Payton said kind of the same thing. He mostly didn't want to blame just Bo Nix. Yes, it was definitely not the level he reached in the preseason, but there was a lot more wrong than just Bo Nix's throwing. Sean Payton focused on the mistakes made by the team as a whole.
I don't know how many balls we dropped. And so I've said this before, for any quarterback playing, we've got to be more effective running the football. We'll see the rushing. If you take away his scrambling yards, I think we're somewhere at 60 yards rushing to their 140. So not nearly good enough.
Do you see that last drive in which he scored a touchdown, giving him some confidence moving forward?
I think part of being a young player is, he's a fairly confident, I don't want to say kid, but yeah, I felt the whole time he was into it, competing. We just got to be better around him, and that's my impressions from just watching it without looking at the tape.
What was interesting to me is that the players and also Sean Payton, they were calm after the game. It's very easy for fans to go back into the despair that they've been in the last few years. It's just not good enough again and again and again. And still the players, they were sad, but it didn't feel like they just gave up already. And I would totally do that if I was a player. It's probably why I'm not a football player in the NFL. And you had Patrick Surtain too, the most paid, how do you say the highest paid cornerback? Well, for 3 days until that guy from the Dolphins overtook him with another bigger contract. I also think that getting $24 million per year helps you stay positive, but you also feel that within the team, there was no despair. They look ahead to the next games. You have to win that next game because otherwise you're 0-2, like another team we're going to talk about later. It was interesting from Pat Surtain II.
We know, we always want to win every game we can in the NFL. Obviously, this one was a very big game, but, we don't dwell on this, because it's the first game of the season. Like I said, we got a long road ahead, a long season ahead. So I'm very confident in this team. I think we got a very great team, and we're looking forward to build off it.
Okay, a little correction. The Buffs are not 0-2. They won their first game. They just should have won that first game with way more bigger numbers. We'll get to the Buffs later, but that is definitely they're 1-1, and let's hope the Broncos are the same after next week's game. This is all the Broncos you'll get from me today at 2 p.m. Is it 2 p.m.? At 2, we will have Liv Moods, Nate Jackson, Brendan Cristal in off field, and they'll be talking about everything that they saw on the field yesterday. Very interesting stuff. So make sure to tune in at 2 p.m. We're going to stick with the NFL. We're going to go to Miami, not for that big cornerback, but for Tyreek Hill. Man, what a day he had yesterday. The wide receiver got arrested a few hours before the season opener after a traffic incident. Hill was on his way to the Hard Rock Stadium when police stopped him and put him in handcuffs. And that was all pretty rough, too. We have a video of that.
Oh, that's fucking Calais Campbell right there.
Now, I don't know what happened. Nothing has come out of what the traffic incident was yet, and I can understand why with such a big sports car or expensive sports car, you can drive faster than most people very easily. But that traffic stop was very, very rough, and he got put in handcuffs and everything. And it's difficult to say something right now, so I got to be careful with what I'm saying. After the game, the focus was mostly on why did he get arrested in the first place. Tyreek Hill said, "What if I wasn't Tyreek Hill? Worst case scenario." That's a scary thing to think about. We still don't know the facts. Well, after the game, few hours after the game, the police officer that put him in handcuffs has been put on administrative leave. And if you know a little bit about police in the US and police unions, you know that those unions are so strong that police can basically do whatever they want within reason, but that reason is far stretched a lot of times. And we can talk about the many times police has done horrible things, but I think we all know those stories, and we want to talk about the bad apples within an organization of people that are good mostly. Tyreek Hill himself said, "I used to want to be a cop, so there's just some bad apples. I have nothing against law enforcement." But the fact that this police officer has been put on administrative leave hours after it happened, so the police district was so quick to act on this officer. I feel like there has to be more to this story, as in this police officer was wrong. Like, you can't be put on administrative leave that easily if you didn't do at least something right. So it's very difficult to say what happened exactly, but I can understand for Tyreek Hill for sure that it also shook him up. He's an amazing athlete, might be one of the fastest runners alive, but we got to wait for that race against Noah Lyles. And he is known as this fantastic athlete, and that's how people view him, talk about him a lot. And then suddenly this happens to you. It's so out of whatever happens to you usually in media and stuff. You're suddenly on the ground in handcuffs, ready, also mentally getting ready for your first game of the season, a big game. Didn't hurt Tyreek Hill because he scored an incredible touchdown and did this afterwards. I like this, Ellie. I like the celebration. It is everything you could have asked for, and I'm rooting for Tyreek Hill all year. I'm glad he got to play. I'm glad he got to play well, and I hope that there's some more talks now about police brutality and unnecessary just stuff around policing that always seems to go wrong. Let's move on. The CU Buffs are 1-1, not 0-2. But still, I feel like this season is just not off to a good start. I wanted to say they continue to disappoint. I'm not sure. I don't think disappointment is the right word. Maybe more something like they keep not living up to the hype. They keep not living up to the hype. In Nebraska, the Buffs went down 28-10 against the Cornhuskers. Jesse was there with Blake last week. An incredible stadium, incredible atmosphere. But if you're a Buffs fan, that was a horrible game. It's not a great start for a team that keeps claiming they're the team to beat because everyone makes it so easy to just do that. We have a clip here from Deion Sanders, who was talking about what happened exactly during the game and what went wrong.
Came out on the short end of the stick, obviously. Starting out, felt good about matchups. We felt good about the competition. We felt good about what we brought to the table today. Game started. Usually we always start out positive. I think the first ball was deflected. The second ball, we didn't bring that in, and it just was just not a rhythm. Then we came out and Shedeur did something very uncharacteristic of himself. Never makes a bad decision, especially in that part of the field, which they got to pick six. After that, we were just trying to play catch up. Defense surrendered some things early, but I'm really, really pleased with the way they played in the second half. It seemed like we were a team of second half defensively. We just got to get it going earlier. But overall, certainly not happy with the outcome, but the positive things, the way we competed in the second half, we had no give up, no quit in us whatsoever. We know we got to do a better job offensively on protection, as well as trying to figure out how to establish a run game and be consistent with that. I'm just excited. I mean, you got to understand when you're in a situation like this, you got to find something to hold on to that you can encourage your team. And I'm truly excited about the second half of football that we played. You would have thought offensively would have came in here and did half of what we did a week ago, and it would have been a better contest, but it didn't. They had the advantage the whole entire game. It seemed as though young kid did a good job with protecting the ball, not turning it over as well. I'm looking at 23 for 30. That's pretty darn good, 185 yards. But touchdown and no turnovers. I'm not happy about 9 penalties for 104 yards whatsoever. The game got truly sloppy at the end of it. It seemed like it was just flag after flag after flag. They had 12 for 105. Normally, with that type of output of flags and penalties, you usually come out victorious, but both of us were horrible in that aspect. Third down, 4-14 is not who we are. Fourth downs, We had 2 shots at one point to get a yard, and we didn't accomplish that. And that was truly frustrating when we prepare for those type of situations. We were in those type of situations in practice several times this week. I made sure we prepared for those situations, but we didn't get it. So it was what it was. Hats off to Coach Rule. His staff coached a heck of a game. Great guy. Like I said, we came into class together as coaches, so I'm always rooting for them unless they play us. But I'm happy if we're going to get our butts kicked, might as well be him. God-fearing man. Let's go.
Look, I like Deion Sanders as a person. I think he is a good coach, and he is a great leader in the locker room. He has shown that multiple times over and over by, for example, opening bank accounts for the kids of his players. He makes real difference in those players' lives. But he keeps doing things that I feel like are detrimental to actually playing football. If you can't take the heat from the media, if you're too focused on getting players their more exposure on Instagram by putting their Instagram handles on the back of their jerseys, maybe it's time to refocus. If you can't walk the walk, don't talk the talk. That's a lot coming from me, who's just sitting here talking and doing nothing else. And I hope that Deion Sanders can turn this around, or at least maybe not turn this around. They're 1-1, I know. But that first game also didn't look too good. The second game looked really bad. I like how he keeps sticking up for his players, but something needs to change for them to be taken seriously. Because right now, they're sort of maybe not the laughingstock of the league, but kind of a little bit. If you play against the CU Buffs, you want to win because of all that talking. And I feel like it's pretty easy to do that now. All right, moving on before I say too much. The PWHL, a big announcement today. If you're not familiar, the PWHL is the Professional Women's Hockey League. The new Women's Hockey League, equivalent to the NHL. It's got 6 teams. It was founded in 2023, and their first inaugural season was from January to May of this year. The winner last year was PWHL Minnesota. That was the name of the winning team, and that's because they had to set up this league so quickly that they were focusing more on getting it done, getting it ready, getting players, teams in stadiums, and getting attendance, which they definitely did. It was a big success this first year. But it was still weird to have a team like PWHL Minnesota beat PWHL New York, PWHL Boston, PWHL Toronto, and then there's 2 more, but I could keep going, but whatever. Good thing about PWHL Minnesota, Nicole Hensley, the goaltender from Colorado, so we're definitely rooting for that team. But starting today, they finally have new names and logos for their teams. They have the Minnesota Frost, which is a lot better than PWHL Minnesota. You got the Toronto Scepters. You got the Ottawa Chargers. The New York Sirens. The Montreal Victoire, because they're French. And the Boston Fleet. There's a lot that I can say about these logos. They're definitely better than the previous names and logos. There was this little rumor about new names. Jesse sent it to me yesterday. One of the names was the Minnesota Superior. I loved that. All the other names were horrible, by the way, so don't look it up. But the Minnesota Superior just sounded grand and big, like use the name of that lake. Yeah, of course. It's the Minnesota Frost. Not bad. It also, I don't know, maybe has some fear in it if you go to Minnesota. The other names, I'm not sure. Also, the logos, the New York Sirens. I like the logo of the Montreal Victoire. Victoire. How do French Canadian people say that? I grew up learning French from France. Anyways, but we're mostly really curious what you guys think. We have all these logos up on our social media right now. On our Instagram, look, we're followed by all your friends, so you should join them. Listen to your friends. And we have all those pictures of all those logos up there right now. And we want to hear from you what you think of these logos. Definitely better than PWHL and the city name. Other than that, maybe I just have to get used to it. But definitely let us know what you think. Let's move on. The last story of the day, Jannik Sinner wins the US Open, big tennis tournament here in the US, in New York. Although, when I looked up the news, I saw different stuff. The top story, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were there. And then down here, it says Jannik Sinner wins the thing. I get it. I know that this is the big showbiz couple of the moment. Taylor Swift, biggest pop idol in the world right now, undisputed. That is just a fact. I like her songs too. And Travis Kelce's 3-time Super Bowl winner, including the last 2 Super Bowls. It's a big deal that they're there. But, like, isn't the game itself a bigger deal? Shouldn't it be a bigger deal? It does show that there's just a lot of popularity around the US Open right now because they broke attendance records, and not by a little. In the 3 weeks that the US Open was held, over 1 million people came to watch the games. That is almost 100,000 times, or almost 100,000 people more than the last previous record. So big stuff. I get that, but still, let's focus on the actual sport, on the actual news. It was a tennis tournament won by Jannik Sinner, the Italian guy, 23 years old. He beat the American Taylor Fritz in the final yesterday. Sinner won his first major trophy earlier this year, and he's only the 3rd person ever to win his first 2 major trophies in 1 year. So big stuff. But we talked about Jannik Sinner before on this show a few weeks ago. Liv talked about him, and it was in a very different context, not about his previous win. No, he got caught with using banned substances twice. Not once, twice. But he was exonerated for both charges. A physiotherapist had used a cream with anabolic steroids in it, and an independent tribunal decided that it happened without him knowing, and he was exonerated. There is a lot that we can say about that, but that was the official ruling. So he was allowed to play in the US Open. And he did. He won. He was way better than Taylor Fritz. Fritz said, I just couldn't get to him. He was untouchable in the final. Big story. Big stuff for someone who used doping twice. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. He was exonerated. Although the World Anti-Doping Agency, as well as Italy's anti-doping agency, can still appeal those rulings, which would make this win obsolete. He would be like the trophy would be taken from him. Although, as it looks now, that is not happening. Like I said, it was an independent tribunal that made sure that whatever he did was without him knowing, and he did everything within the legal limits. Although it is a little difficult to talk about because I'm from Europe. There's a lot of European soccer players who have been suspended for years sometimes for using substances without them knowing. You have Paul Pogba, if you know him. You have Andre Onana, the goaltender right now from Manchester United. They were out for years because of this kind of stuff, the exact same ruling, and they weren't exonerated. But you can't be mad at Jannik Sinner. He did everything according to the books, if it was without him knowing. He is the winner of the US Open, and he did that in incredible fashion. So let's just celebrate this win and see what else is to come from this 3-year-old's career. I think there's a lot more to come, especially now that the old folks, the big guys, officially retired or are about to retire. This might be the new generation that we should be looking at. All right, that was it for today's Guerilla Sports Daily. I am going to save my voice a little bit. We've only been going for 24 minutes, I think. That is long enough for me. One thing I know is that I will not be going camping anytime soon, but I will definitely be following all sports news. I will be back here on Monday next week. hopefully with a better voice. Today at 12, we have Jesse and Megan Angley in Off Ice. At 11, so that is in 35 minutes. At 11, we have Jesse and Megan Angley in Off Ice talking everything NHL, but probably also PWHL, as I can imagine. And at 2, we will have Off Field with Liv Moods, Nate Jackson, Brendan Cristal, the dream team, the other dream team. And we'll see you here tomorrow, Guerrilla Sports Daily with Jesse at 10 a.m. Thank you for watching.